and welcome, my fellow rivals, to another episode of Game Rivals. I'm your host, Maximilian X, as always, coming to you from the interwebs, and I'm here today with a rather short episode of Game Rivals because, well, the end of the year is near, and most of the big announcements have come and gone. There's still some stuff that I want to talk about that has come over the past couple of weeks, so let's just get to it. Apologies for that. Let's just get to it, shall we? Starting with something that was announced as soon as I was done with the last episode. I tried to put it in, I swear. I had everything recorded, and then I went to check the recording. It was muted. I forgot to freaking unmute my mic after the recording. So I was just blabbing into the ether for no reason. And by the time I realized it, it was too late to re record it and add it to the episode. So now, 2 weeks later, you get to hear my rant about the PlayStation 5 Slim. All right. So, first of all, they're not calling it the Slim model, just saying this is the new, refined, slim down PlayStation 5. Why would you not just call it the Slim? And then I realized, oh, they don't want to call it the Slim because the Slim has a very specific connotation. So around this time in a game system's life cycle, one or two things occur. Usually they go hand in hand. Sometimes one happens and the other doesn't. So, for example, um, for example, the I want to say Switch Lite. So I think I remember the specifically the Switch Lite came out. The Switch Lite came out for I want to say 230 euros originally. I think that's the original price, or 250. Um, and then like if you want to buy one now, you'll usually see it discounted or a standard price of either 220 euros or just straight up 200 euros, right? So because it's a smaller system, so it's cheaper usually to produce for the platform holder, or they will do what Sony has d- done in the past before, where they'll release a slim version of a model that is cheaper than the original release. And sometimes they just bring down the price of the base model because it's cheaper to produce for them now, and then bring it down like usually about 20 to 50 bucks, depending on if it's Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo. I think the Xbox One S is was came out a lot cheaper back in the day too. I think it was like 230 as well, or 250 when it came out versus just the Xbox One, which don't forget that original one came with a Connect, so it was initially a lot more expensive. So when they also released the Connectless version, that one came down in price because it didn't include a Connect, obviously. But this one, this one is funny because they slimmed down the PlayStation 5 in a very much not significant way, and they've modified it so that now it is the ability for it to be for a disk drive to be added to it later, or you buy one with it included. And if you want to take the disk drive off because you think it's an ugly hump, you can take it off and put like a replacement panel that just slims it down even more. um, which makes sense, right? Because you're not always gonna like you'll have games that you buy digitally, you have games that you install physically, and depending on if you're not playing anything that requires the disc to boot up, why not just take it off and then have it look nice and slender, right? Well, here's the problem with that: they didn't bring down the price. Normally with slims, usually, even if here's the thing, even if they don't bring down the price, the Slim replacing it means that they're making more profit off of it, right? They never raised the price, which is what they did with this. And it makes no sense to me because now the all digital version is 50 bucks more than what it used to be, despite the fact that it's a slim model. So, by all means, either the price stays the same or it goes up. For some reason, they're able to keep the price on the disc version the same, but the discless version is now more expensive. This Sony, this is not even the first time you've done this with this particular product. Remember, everywhere outside of the US got a price hike on the disc version of the PlayStation 5 like not even 6 months ago. And now you're like, here's the thing. Not only are they hiking up the price, the option for the discless, the thing that would make it more appealing to get the discless version and then buy the disc drive after fact is completely gone when you also know that the disc drive costs 80 bucks, which means that if you buy the discless version for 449 and you buy the disc drive for 80 bucks, $79, whatever you want to call it, it's still 80 bucks. Especially in the US, where some places include text, will definitely bring it above 80 bucks. Means that you're paying more for the discless version if you buy a separate drive later than just buying it outright with the drive. By depending on where you live, somewhere between 10 bucks and 30 bucks. That makes no sense to me. How is that even possible? I'll tell you how it's possible. Sony does not care. They know people will buy it because they know that people want the PlayStation 5. And honestly, I can't blame people for not wanting the PlayStation 5. I can blame them for being very predatory at this case for doing stupid stuff like that. And you know what? People still gobble it up because what's 10 bucks? What is 20 bucks? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's these kind of gosh darn tactics why you see prices slowly going up for gaming instead of like going down. And I know it's like, oh yeah, like stuff is getting more expensive and blah 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 blah. That doesn't matter because it can't be that they're producing these PlayStation 5s for a higher price than the old one. That is the part that does not make sense to me. They are definitely making a profit off of this new slimmer version because let's be real, there is no way that they are making less money by putting that out. Why would you put out a product that makes you less money? You understand what I'm saying here? This stuff is absolute garbage. I was actually looking forward to this model. You know why? Because I figured at the very least, the diskless drive would come down in price. Maybe 350, and then heck, even if the drive was 80 bucks at that point, it would still be cheaper than buying the disk drive version at the same price that it's at. Which by the way, for us Europeans is 550 bucks. That is insane. No, sorry. I said 550. I meant 530, 529 or something like that. It's still pretty freaking pricey. Like, no. No. That's ridiculous. Right? People have priorities. And I know that people will like save money for this stuff, but no. Like no. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Like could you imagine if Xbox did that? The kind of field day people would be having, or Nintendo? Are you crazy? Heck, people were already criticizing the OLED version for being 50, like 20 bucks more. 20 bucks more. I think it's 20 bucks more. Yeah, here it was 20 euros more than the original price for the Switch. The original price for the Switch was 329 euros here, and they added basically 20 euros on that when they released the OLED Switch, which is interesting because I think with that they did technically bring the official price of the Switch in Europe at least down to I think 299. So technically, because here's the thing, even though the official price for the Switch was 329 euros, most places would discount it still, depending on the place. Not everywhere. Most places still sold it for like the official price. Some places would still have like like sales and sell it for 299. If they had a really big sale, it'd be like 279 or something like that. If they had like a really good sale, but officially the LCD version I think still sells for 299. The OLED version still sells for 349. I want to say I'm not 100% sure. Um, but at least with that one, you could say like, okay, that came down in price. And like I said earlier, with the Switch Lite, that one also came down in price from 229 to where you usually can find it for uh, 219 or sometimes even 200 euros. So like in that regard, the prices do come. That's what's supposed to happen. Stuff gets easier and cheaper to make. Prices slowly come down. Sony has been going the opposite direction this entire generation. So when I say this, I do say this with love and care. If you're like financially stable to buy a PlayStation 5, buy it. If you're not, don't, because it ain't worth it at this point. Not now. Not when they're jacking the prices in subtle ways. You know what I'm saying? So like with this diskless version thing, I'd say if you have the money, just buy the disc version. Don't touch the diskless version. It's not worth it at this point. Like if you want to make it look diskless, you can take the disk drive off and put a different panel in there so that it looks slim. Do that. Honestly, by all means, do that instead, which is kind of like the opposite of what I just said. I know. But if you're gonna buy it, buy the disc version. Like if you have the means for it, I'm not gonna stop you from not buying it. I am gonna say spend responsibly, or spend actually not even spend responsibly, but spend responsibly would still be not buying it. Spend wisely. And when I say spend wisely, I mean do not buy the thing that makes you spend more later down the road. I'm sorry. It ah can you imagine that this was originally like a 3 minute rant? The previous one. Oh my gosh. Okay, okay. Sorry, rant over. Oh my god, I had to get that off my chest. I've been holding it in for like 2 weeks, man. The only other news pertaining to the PlayStation 5 redesigned release, it got leaked that it will probably come out November 10th in the US. And there was another part of that leak which is super weird. This is coming from GameSpot, um, as reported by VCG, that there's also going to be a Spider-Man 2 bundle with that new version of PlayStation 5 coming out November 8th in the US again, for $560. I don't think this has been like officially released as of this point. Maybe it has. I don't know. Um, but as far as I can tell, it hasn't. And yeah, interesting considering that they already released a themed bundle, a themed one with like themed plates and themed controllers and everything, with the game not physically included, of course, on the like original design, which is super weird. Um, but also, I feel like that bundle is probably just maybe in time for Black Friday. So I don't know if they're going to do Black Friday deals with that Spider-Man bundle, which would make all the sense in the world. But who knows? I don't know. I guess we'll see. Well, I guess we'll see when that officially gets announced. And if it does come out November 10th, we should be getting like a trailer like imminently about that. And it also makes sense to bundle it with Spider-Man because Spider-Man is hot news. And since we're talking about it anyways, we might as well talk about it. You guys, this past weekend has been a crazy weekend. Spider-Man And Mario Wonder came out literally the same day, October 20th, 2023. And it's, I have to say, social media has been blowing up with both games. People loving both games, showing off cool things about both games. In terms of Spider-Man 2, be careful if you haven't picked it up yet. You might want to be careful for some spoilers. So especially when it comes to like reels and shorts and like TikToks and stuff like that, they will not label that as a spoiler, or they'll put it in the thing as like major spoiler, and then they just like show it. So beware of spoilers for that particular game. I don't think you can really get spoiled by a 2D Mario game, but the cool thing about the Mario stuff that they're showing off on social media is all the cool tech hacks. So if you're into like the speed running community and stuff like that, or if you just love seeing people doing cool stuff into the platformers, um, look out for those. Those are Sorry, that's Spider Man. Those are very wonderful indeed. I'm sorry. I've been saying that on stream. Like I streamed it on Saturday, like the day after, and like you guys, First of all, like yeah, I don't have Spider Man because I don't own a PlayStation 5 for the reason that I just talked about. Um, but I do have Mario Wonder, obviously. And like both games are spectacularly wonderful in their own right. Like the games look so good. And I really want to play Spider Man 2 someday. Someday. But Mario Wonder is just like, oh my, like, I think like one of the first things that I did was like text like my best buds, and I told them that yo, Mario is so great, man. Like Mario has personality. You guys, like outside. Here's the thing: outside of like 3D Mario games, right? 3D Mario games have the ability to give Mario like expressions and give him some semblance of a personality, right? It's always fun to play a 3D Mario game because you have that level of fidelity in terms of animation, in terms of expression and stuff like that. 2D Mario games have not had that. Not really. And the new Super Mario Brothers formula just made it so much worse. um, like I loved the first New Super Mario Bros. On DS, and I enjoyed the sequel on DS, New Super Mario Bros. 2. I played the console versions. I have never owned. I don't think I own. No, I don't think I own any of the console Mario Bros. Like maybe New Super Mario Bros. U. Maybe I own. I don't even remember if I own that. And of course, Super Mario Maker, and Mario Maker 2 has those elements in it. And I feel like I never make levels based on those templates because it lacks the imagination that the previous games had, right? So the last 2D platformer before the new Super Mario Pantheon showed up was Super Mario World, right? And if you tell me in the comments it was Yoshi's Island, I will come and find you and I will tell you how wrong you are that is a Mario game. It is a Yoshi game. It has always been a Yoshi game and it will always be a Yoshi game. Outside of that, Super Mario World had pretty like it has decent personality for something that came out in the 90s, right? And then you have like Super Mario Bros. 3 on the NES, which looked way, way, way better than anything that the first game did, or the second game, because the second game basically was literally just the first game with more like harder levels. And then you have, of course, the American version of Super Mario Bros. 2, which is basically Doki Doki Panic, which does add some personality for the first time. To Mario, and those games are fine, right? Like for their time, they add just enough personality. But this, like, we haven't had something this drastically different in terms of 2D Mario games since then, right? Since the 90s, since the early 90s, even. Like, that's insane. Like, say all you want about the new Super Mario Bros. Games being, like very like inviting to newer players. They've also been, for lack of a better term, in terms of presentation, kind of bland. They work for what they are at the time, but let's be real, bland is bland. Super Mario Wonder changes that altogether. And like not just I mean, we know of course, Charles Martinet stepped down from voicing Mario in the games. So there's a new voice actor doing that. Oh, I actually do not have that article up. Damn. I do not have that article up. What the hell? I'll get like I forgot the name of the new voice actor. But basically, he does Mario and he does Luigi and he does the talking flowers in Mario Wonder. So that's pretty cool. So that's like the three different levels of like um, performances that he's giving, and that's pretty cool. So kudos to him. Yeah, look here's my deal. If you're a platformer, like you're eating good. If you're a action an action beat 'em up kind of person, you're eating good this year because you got Spider-Man, you got Mario, uh, and to a certain extent, you also have Sonic, which came out the same week. You have a Sonic and Mario game coming out the same week. I totally forgot about that one, by the way. Like, what the? Did they all come together on like, yo, let's blow people's minds and give them not only a new Spider-Man game, but also a new Mario game, but also a new 2D Sonic game. And it's like, bet. It's crazy. It's like crazy, right? Now, granted, from at least from what I've seen from the reviews for Sonic, I mean, it's not reviewing as good as you would hope it would, but that might be on the side of the reviewers. I'm not going to get too much into that stuff. But I have to believe at the very least that they're half decent 2D platformers. So, that's crazy, right? That's a lot of good games that are coming out in a very short time. So, yeah, eat up, kids. The end of the year is almost at hand. So we'll be tallying up those bananas and seeing which game comes as close to game of the year. Because, oh boy, this year has been crazy. And speaking of crazy, um, we have another retirement announcement from in the industry from none other than Pete Hines, head of publishing for Bethesda Softworks, who announced his retirement after 24 years at the company. And he's been around for like he's been through everything that the company has been going through for the past 24 years. Most notably, of course, when Bethesda started doing the Fallout games, of course, like them hitting it big with like Oblivion, of course, with like the Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 76, of course, the latest game from them, Starfield. Um, and yeah, I mean, he's been through all of that with them, and he's been the guy that has been like fielding the questions when it comes to those games. And like he and like Todd Howard basically they always seemed like the two pillars of Bethesda, right? You couldn't say Bethesda Softworks and like their heads not just mention Todd Howard, but also Pete Hines will always be there. Would always be there, and now he is going to be retiring to live with his family and like take it easy. Um, I don't know what he's gonna do after this. I don't know if he's gonna start a new company, but at the very least, he is. I honestly would say he's going out on top because another thing that also probably people did not expect to happen, mostly because Game Pass is a thing. Starfield actually sold well, like as in the uh last month when it came out. Um, it was the best selling game in the US, which is pretty great. I mean, that's good for them. Kudos. And this is a month that had Mortal Kombat 1, Payday 3, the Crew Motorfest coming out in that same month as well. So, like, yeah, that beating Mortal Kombat is pretty. That's pretty good for them. If they still hold that record for this month, I don't think so. My money is on Spider-Man 2, probably followed by Mario Wonder. So it might bump Starfield to like maybe number 3 or something for this month. But yeah, that's really cool. That's really great. They kind of really they kind of really need that win because those collector's editions that came with the cool watches. Yeah, apparently they started breaking on some fans. Fans have been reporting on it that yeah, the watches are breaking. I don't know how many of them they made. I don't know how many of them are actually breaking down. And well, since it's a very specific thing that they made for a collector's edition, there's not like a specific brand tied to it outside of like Xbox. You know what I'm saying? So there's like people are having a hard time to get him fixed. That's awkward. That's very awkward. That is very awkward for them. I hope they get them fixed because people are still like the people that enjoy Starfield are really enjoying Starfield. Criticisms aside, at the end of the day, no matter how much criticism a certain franchise gets, it'll always have its fans that'll stand up for it, and they'll always find the entertainment that they want from it, which is great, which they should, right? Like everybody deserves to enjoy the games that they want to enjoy, no matter what kind of gamer you are, for the most part. Um, you would deserve to. Actually, you know what? No, I take that back. Everybody deserves to enjoy the games that they want to enjoy. It doesn't matter what kind of gamer you are. Um, because, like, for example, I like to play on occasion very basic ass games. I also enjoyed the occasional visual novel, assuming it's written well, or at least is written entertainingly. Um, and not a lot of people like even like visual novels tend to be associated with a certain kind of like gamer, which no, or at least someone with a certain type kind of taste. Again, no, not all visual novels are like that. No matter how hard they try, how no matter how hard it is to convince people otherwise. No, it's not. It isn't. I mean, heck, I even like to play half quarter like D rank like retro games just for the fun of it, just for the retro of it. Um Even if they're not that great, there is still some value to those games, right? Heck, there's a whole Japanese saying for a certain kind of games called kuso games, which are shitty games. Um that are basically games that are not deemed not great, not good, but people still enjoy playing through them and like tearing them a new one because that's just a thing people like to do. So you know what? If it brings you joy, it brings you joy, and that's where I'm just gonna leave that for this week. So thank you so much for listening to it. If you've listened to it this far, I appreciate you. Don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you haven't, so that you get notified as soon as a new episode goes up. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. You can also find us on every podcasting service: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Stitcher, Spotify, or home, you name it, we're probably there. You can also give us feedback also through email with Gmail, gamerrivals feedback at gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram at Maximilian underscore X, or on TikTok with the same. Of course, I stream whenever I am possible, whenever I have the ability to stream, which is twitch.tv/Maximilian underscore X. And you'll probably also see me simul streaming, if possible, to my YouTube channel, which is also at Maximilian underscore X, now that that is allowed, which is also a new announcement that came from TwitchCon this past weekend that I forgot to talk about. Sorry about that. Now you know. They announced that simul streaming to other platforms is now allowed if you're a Twitch streamer. There are still some caveats towards it, but basically, it's then almost anything goes. Almost. Still read up on like how that works. So with that, I will say adieu. And I have always and will be Maximilian X, and I'll see you all of you beautiful rivals next time. Later.